New is always better.
Well, that was fun. But let's forget all that old crap for a while and talk about the new. 2022 is slated to be yet another fantastic year for gaming, largely because many of the best games that were supposed to come out in 2021 were delayed into 2022. So not only will we be getting some great games, but also last year's sloppy rejects. I have a bunch of games I'm excited for, naturally, but to keep things simple, I'm going to talk about 5 games for the time being. So please enjoy this quick little montage of the many other games I'm excited for before we get into talking about my 5 big ones. Haha, wasn't that fun? Alright, enough dillying and or dallying. Let's look at the 5 games currently slated for 2022 that I'm most excited to play. I must reiterate that the 5 games I'm going to talk about in this video are currently slated for release in 2022, so don't be snippy with me if one of them gets delayed to next year sometime in March, cause I'm not some sort of prophet who can see the future when it comes to game delays. I'm just good at predicting which characters might make it into crossover fighting games. In 2018, Cory Barlog and the rest of Santa Monica Studio managed to do what some thought was impossible. Gone was the rage-filled Spartan hell-bent on the destruction of an entire pantheon of deities, and in his place was a weathered, battered veteran of war, trying to hide from his past and connect with his new son after the death of his wife and his son's unfortunate addiction to Skylanders. The game was an instant hit from the moment it was released, but a lone teaser at the end of the game showed that there was still more to come. Officially announced during a 2020 PlayStation Showcase, and despite Cory Barlog's apparent lack of knowledge regarding the game's existence, God of War Ragnarok takes place 3 years after Daddy Thor pays Kratos and Boy a visit. We don't know yet what transpires between the God of Thunder and our titular characters, but it's probably safe to assume he's not out there for a barbecue. But whatever happens, with Atreus now a teenager and Ragnarok on the horizon, Kratos and Boy set out for adventure once more in a world designed to just tear them apart, both emotionally and physically. If the game even ends up being half as good as what came before it, I can safely say that it'll be one of the best games of 2022. Everything from the character performances, environmental design, revealed story, and more has me excited to jump back into the Lake of Nine. Though I am curious to see what this game's Valkyrie analog will be, because I'm eager for some hardcore challenge. And I absolutely mean that in a masochistic manner, because I'm more than ready to be stepped on by more large warrior women, so bring on whoever's next. The Saints Row franchise has seen a lot of weird twists and turns over the years, starting out as a blatant GTA clone and evolving into whatever the fuck this is. But while Saints Row III started to take things into a wild and weird direction, Saints Row 4 basically threw whatever it could at a random assortment of dartboards, and whatever stuck just made it into the game. And for me, that was a fantastic change of pace from all the other tried and true realism games out there, being one of my personal favorite games to have released in recent memory. But not everyone agrees, including, apparently, Volition. Bringing things back down to earth, literally, Saints Row is a hard reboot of the franchise that isn't a blatant clone of Grand Theft Auto or a bombastic balls-to-the-wall thrill ride, instead finding itself somewhere in the happily deranged medium between the two. Set in the fictional city of Santa Eleso, a sort of amalgamation of the American Southwest, players will do what the Saints do best: cause some mayhem and own this town. Everything Volition has shown off about the game has me excited for the franchise's return, including the colorful cast of new characters like expert driver Nina and the perpetually shirtless Kevin, the more realistic and grounded gameplay compared to 4, and most importantly of all the mayhem you're able to cause. I personally feel that Saints Row is a more fun franchise than GTA when it's not trying to just be a shameless clone. And while I personally enjoyed the weird parody style that Saints Row 4 employed and will miss most of the original cast, I'm more than eager to see what chaos the Saints can get up to this time in the rebooted Saints Row. Rocksteady are best known for the Batman Arkham games, having revolutionized not only what makes a Batman title good, but a good superhero game in general. With Arkham Knight, they confidently closed the book on Bruce Wayne's journey that began with Arkham Asylum, which begged the question, where do they go from there? The upcoming game Gotham Knights does cover that, but that's not the game I want to talk about today. For years, there were rumors that there was going to be a potential Superman game to follow up Arkham Knight, thanks in part to the multiple Superman-related Easter eggs in the game, but in 2020, Rocksteady finally revealed their hand. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League takes place within the same DC universe they established within the Arkham titles, but instead of taking on the criminals of Gotham as one of his 4 cohorts, players get to choose between 4 of DC's rogues gallery to bound around Metropolis at the end of the world. Just some good, wholesome family entertainment for all. Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, and King Shark headline the experience this time around, each one offering a unique set of gameplay options as well as unique movement, making for the first multiplayer-focused experience from the primarily single-player studio. That doesn't mean you need to play the game with a few friends in tow, however. Players can choose whichever character they want to play as and have the other 3 filled in with AI, and at any time you want to swap to someone else to get a whole other experience, you're free to do so. One minute you could be bounding across the rooftops as a gigantic shark man eating your foes with reckless abandon, and then next you could be throwing boomerangs and Australian insults like they were going out of style. Regardless of the threats that are posed in Brainiac's plans for the Justice League, it's safe to assume that Rocksteady will have crafted an experience that's engaging and fun, and I can't wait to move around Metropolis with reckless abandon. My only hope is that the final boss fight in this one is better than the final Joker fight in the first Arkham Asylum game. I still have trouble sleeping at night thinking about that one. I still hold true to the statement that Borderlands 2 is the best game in the franchise, being the last main entry in the series that I've played all the way through. The pre-sequel in Borderlands 3 just couldn't quite strike gold like 2 did, and while Tales from the Borderlands is an excellent game, it's not exactly a comparable experience. So I find myself going back into Borderlands 2 every so often when I get that Borderlands itch, and one of the best parts of that experience to me was always Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep DLC. An in-universe D&D game with Tiny Tina at the helm, Assault on Dragon Keep was the final bit of DLC for Borderlands 2 and is widely regarded as one of the best bits of additional content. So it only makes sense that the developers would want to make a whole game out of that brilliant off-the-wall concept. Instead of an alien planet full of monsters, guns, and hilarity, we have a classic medieval-style world superimposed over an alien planet full of monsters, guns, and hilarity. Only this time with an all-star cast of voice talent and magic. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands feels like it'll be a fresh take on the Borderlands formula, bringing life into a series that was starting to get a little stagnant after being just more of the same with maybe 1 or 2 minor additions. Tiny Tina being in charge of the story can lend itself to wild twists and meta turns, and to help players better prepare for what's ahead, they re-released Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep as a standalone adventure, so players don't have to play through all of Borderlands 2 to experience it in time for the new game. But you can totally still do that. And probably should, because Borderlands 2 is just great. Either way, as a DM myself, I'm eager to jump into the wild world of Wonderlands, and I hope that it has even half the charm and hilarity that its DLC inspiration did. What can I say about Breath of the Wild that hasn't already been said 1,000 times by 1,000 different people? The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the game that not only helped the Switch become an instant hit, is not only the title that revolutionized the open world genre, and has not only helped to define what a Legend of Zelda title can be, but it is honestly just one of the best games to come out in the last 5 years. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 will utilize the incredibly stylized world of the first game, but with several noticeable changes just based on our brief teaser trailer. First off, Link looks a bit more like a wild man than a savior of the world, with his right arm having been replaced with Sheikah technology. Along with his new Winter Soldier upgrade, Link has access to a few new Sheikah Slate abilities, including the ability to drill through solid objects with his body or control an object's movement through time. The world has also changed significantly, with large portions of the land having been ripped from the ground itself to fly in the sky above, creating several floating platforms of land for players to traverse, and officially bringing Skyward Sword into this weird amalgamation of different games. It's a lot of aesthetic changes for a sequel to one of the most well-received games in recent history, but the real mystery is what the story will be and exactly when this will take place. Why is the land being ripped asunder? What causes Link's arm to be completely replaced? What's up with Ganondorf being freeze-dried, and why does his rehydrated form make me feel things? Hopefully we'll have answers to these questions and more when Breath of the Wild 2 launches, and I can only hope that it will be in 2022 considering how much the first game was delayed. And that's that! These 5 games are obviously not the only ones I'm excited for to come out in 2022. I subjected you to a whole montage of other ones, but they are the ones that I'm probably most excited for. Each one offers a unique experience that I'm just excited to play through, and even if I don't pick them all up right away, I'm still eager to play them. What games currently slated to come out in 2022 are you excited for? Let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and do all that other fun YouTubey stuff while you're down there. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already, where I post the occasional poll for videos and silly stuff like this. And I will see all of you in the next video. Take care.